Welcome back to another episode of 40 Facts about the 40K universe. I am your host, Kirsch1, and you are watching One Mind Syndicate. Today we talk about a topic that was requested multiple times by a certain one of you guys. You know who you are. Let's get into 40 Facts about the Stormtroopers. Stormtroopers, as they are known in Low Gothic or Tempestus Scions, are the elite special forces of the Imperial Guard, Militarum Tempestus, and the Inquisition. Trained from youth by the Schola Progenium in the arts of war, Stormtroopers are perhaps the finest soldiers ever to serve in the Imperial Guard. The Schola Progenium exists to adopt children whose parents died in the Emperor's service, and train them to become the bedrock of the Imperium's defense and governance. The Schola graduates are scattered across Imperial society: the Ecclesiarchy, the Administratum, the Adeptus Arbites, the Commissariat, the Adept Sororitas, and even the Inquisition. For those who prove to be particularly martial and aggressive, the Schola reserves its most difficult and dangerous training. This is the instruction provided to the most famous Imperial Guard and Inquisitorial Stormtroopers. Stormtrooper training begins immediately after the Schola Progenium's primary educational course, but does not replace it. After all, potential Stormtroopers are expected to be more than simple warriors. Each is expected to be both well-schooled in basic education and Imperial lore and history, and by unwavering loyalty to the Imperium as well, something the Schola educates work diligently to impart. Stormtroopers form a single Imperial Guard regiment, which is unique in that it is a permanent unit, receiving a constant influx of new recruits to keep it up to its full strength. By virtue of its members having been recruited from the orphanage progenia of the Schola Progenium, the regiment is made up of the soldiers originally hailed from the worlds across the Imperium of Man. With up to 10,000 men under arms at any one time, the regiment is also larger than most Imperial Guard regiments raised from a single world. However, this huge force does not fight in a single place. Individual companies or battalions are instead sent to different war zones, and from there individual Stormtrooper squads are spread amongst the other Imperial Guard regiments in a given war zone as required. The Stormtrooper unit assigned to a war zone provides a core of elite squads, which are entrusted to carry out important missions requiring more training and initiative than are possessed by the average Imperial Guardsman. Stormtrooper squads are effective at spearheading assaults into heavily fortified positions, infiltrating behind enemy lines, and sowing confusion and panic. They are often dropped into the thick of combat, guns blazing before they can even touch the ground. In some rare instances, several squads of Stormtroopers will gather for a mission which is intended to be an annihilation of a target, rather than a take and hold. This task force is referred to as a Stormtrooper Strike Force. Stormtrooper recruits are chosen from the progenia of the Schola Progenium, where they have been raised and educated, and molded into loyal and dedicated servants of the Emperor of Mankind. They are then taught to be superior battle tacticians, and the use of more advanced equipment than the average guardsman. The regiments to which the Stormtrooper squads are attached often regard the dedicated and better equipped Stormtroopers with a certain amount of animosity, referring to them by such names as Glory Boys and Big Toy Soldiers. Regardless of the animosity or opinions of the average guardsman, the effectiveness of Stormtroopers cannot be disputed, and even the most embittered guardsman thanks the God Emperor when a Stormtrooper squad appears to turn the tide of battle and save the day. Although the vast majority of Stormtroopers are progenia, orphans trained at the Schola Progenium, at time a senior officer of the Imperium, such as an Inquisitor, uses his authority to have an individual inducted into the Stormtrooper training course of the Schola Progenium. In this situation, the Schola Progenium's drill abbots make no distinction between a barely teenage new recruit and a grizzled veteran with years of service, and any complaints those veterans may have are quickly crushed under the weight of training. When or if those recruits emerge as Stormtroopers, they are often removed from their squad and assigned to their patron Inquisitor instead. To be selected to become a Stormtrooper in this manner happens but rarely, usually after some act of outstanding courage and dedication. The candidate must show developed martial skills, a strong mind resistant to terror and panic, and a deep faith in the Imperial Creed. Naturally, the sponsoring Inquisitor has his own, often obscure agenda for sponsoring an acolyte into this training. Stormtroopers make excellent throne agents, often serving as the Inquisitor's bodyguard in extreme dangerous situations, and they are highly valued for their martial training and military knowledge. Often, such an unusual candidate is examined carefully by the drill abbot instructor before being declared fit to train with the Stormtrooper progeny. Rigorous study with the Inquisition is also required for the candidate in order to acquire the same knowledge already learnt by the other progeny. This often includes a deep understanding of the Tactica Imperialis, advanced stealth techniques, and a method to ensure basic and successful communion with the machine spirit of their special wargear. In most cases, the proper Stormtrooper progeny never recognizes the qualities of the outsider candidate and prefers to remain aloof. The inquisitorial candidate, after all, has entered the training from the sponsorship of a higher power, and many of the other progeny will doubt his own personal qualifications for such an honor. Traditionally, the drill abbots stand apart from the social aspect of their charge, and provide the candidate with no more and no less instruction than are given to the other progeny. Many a grizzled Imperial veteran may find his pride difficult to swallow when treated no different than a raw and untested recruit by the drill abbots. However, swallow it they must if they are to complete their training and fulfill the expectations of their sponsor. Should the candidate survive the grueling regime of harsh training, he is now an Imperial Stormtrooper. However, candidates sponsored by the Inquisition are not meant to join a proper Stormtrooper unit, nor to deploy with the Imperial Guard. Instead, these Stormtroopers, with their training complete, are taken by their sponsor to serve a higher purpose, a permanent place on the Inquisitorial's retinue of acolytes and throne agents. Stormtroopers can be divided roughly into 4 different categories: Grenadiers, Standard Stormtroopers, Inquisitorial Stormtroopers, and Cadian Kazarkin. Unlike standard Stormtroopers, Grenadiers are raised from the toughest and most skilled members of an already existing Imperial Guard regiment. This practice is normally found on highly martial worlds such as Cadia or Krieg. Grenadiers are selected while they are still in the youth army of the local planetary defense force or during their Imperial Guard basic training, and are enrolled in special academies where they receive additional training. They are utterly dedicated to the preservation of the Imperium and follow an ethos of duty and honor that is both impressive and intimidating. Unlike standard Stormtroopers, who are looked upon with disdain by their fellow Guardsmen, Grenadiers are looked up to and seen as models to follow and emulate, as Grenadiers are from the same world as the rest of the regiment. Grenadiers are often known by different names depending upon the world they hail from, such as the Cadian Kazarkin, who are considered both a style of Stormtrooper and a Cadian equivalent of a Grenadier. Standard Stormtroopers are the closest equivalent the Imperial Guard possesses to elite special forces. They act as shock troopers and commandos, conducting raids behind enemy lines and acting as the spearhead for later offensive assaults. Stormtroopers are recruited from the orphaned sons of Imperial officials and military officers from all over the galaxy, such as planetary governors or high-ranking members of the Imperial Guard or Imperial Navy. Raised with a scholo progenium under the care of the ecclesiarchy, they live a demanding life of prayer, study, and physical exercise. This unremitting and punishing training regime hones their minds, bodies, and skills to the very peak of human perfection. These potential Stormtrooper candidates are notable for their outstanding skills in the art of war, but lack the iron personality and charisma that would earmark them to become Imperial Commissars, Imperial Guard officers, or affinity for space warfare that would make them the Imperial Navy officer. They are usually not from the same regiment or homeworld as those they serve with. Due to this origin, their superior wargear and training, they are often called glory boys and big toy soldiers by the average guardsman. As spoken before, the other guardsmen are jealous of their skill and access to specialized gear. Wearing highly protective carapace armor and armed with armor-piercing hell guns, a single squad of Stormtrooper can be more dangerous than an entire company of regular Guardsmen. Kazarkin are the elite of the Cadian shock troop regiments and are a part of the Imperial Guard structure dedicated to the security of the fortress world of Cadia. Their name comes from the title of the heavy defender fortress city of Cadia, which are called Kazarks. In the Cadian dialect of Low Gothic, the name of this unit means the citykin. These are the elite of the already superior Cadian planetary defense forces and are recruited while still serving as White Shields or recruits in the Cadian armed forces into the Imperial Guard. Their training is comparable, if not better than, that of standard Stormtroopers, of which they are the Cadian equivalent, and they are utterly dedicated to the preservation of Cadia, whereas Stormtroopers are indoctrinated to dedicate themselves to the defense of the entire Imperium. Kazarkin are highly trained in the use of numerous weapons and wear the more advanced carapace armor, like standard Stormtroopers. They maintain a strict ethos of duty and honor and a devotion to the Emperor that is impressive for the members of the Imperial Guard. Whereas the standard Stormtrooper is looked down upon and envied by most Imperial Guardsmen of the rank and file, the standard Kazarkin is looked up to with favor and respect by the other members of the Cadian shock troop regiments. The Kazarkin are the ultimate defenders of Cadia from the enemies of the Imperium, such as the ever-present forces of chaos, and they lead the charge in the defense of Cadia, particularly during the early days of Abaddon the Despoiler's 13th Black Crusade. To be a Kazarkin is to hold a position of honor in Cadian society, and all Cadians recognize this truth. Used to enforce execution warrants and when extreme prejudice is required, kill squads are comprised of the special forces of planetary defense forces and represent some of the most dangerous formations that can exist within the organization of the planetary enforcers. Though not true Stormtroopers, as they serve a planetary government and not the Imperium, the troopers that comprise kill squads are often trained in the same elite level as most Imperial Stormtroopers. On some worlds where the rule of the planetary governor is dictatorial and harsh, kill squad troopers are the hated embodiment of their tyranny. And those were 40 facts about the Stormtrooper. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to the channel because we're going to be putting out more Imperial Guard lore and just more Warhammer 40K lore in general. Thank you guys so much for being supportive by liking, commenting, and sharing. You guys doing that really helps out the channel, and it has allowed us to grow to over 25k subscribers. So thank you. You guys are awesome. And please comment down below if you guys have any more topics you guys would like us to cover. We want to cover it all, but what should we cover next? Please comment that down below. This was Gersh1 with One Mind Syndicate, signing out.